So in terms of where we're at in the project at the moment, we're just past the halfway point, and we're working towards roughly the 15th of November for the completed tool to be functional. You can use it and run. Anyone can use it and run their data through it. I think overall, in terms of the project, so far we've had around 18 people engaged in coding different rules, learning how to code, and this has been great. We've had some good engagement, and I think in particular there have been a couple of key contributors who've been really driving progress forward in terms of getting the rules coded. Between these 18, they've coded 91 of the 280 or so rules that we're looking to code, which is around 67 of the simple ones, 16 of the more advanced ones, and 8 of those that require external data. And then I think, as you've just seen, the first version of the front end has been developed. And it's ready for testing. We know that this is kind of a first iteration. We want to put it in people's hands, get some feedback, understand what works, what you like about it, what we could potentially change or improve before we actually launch this thing. So I guess what's next? Well, fundamentally, as Alistair's touched upon, this project isn't just about coding some rules, building a tool that gets launched and is ready to use for people. Obviously, having a tool to identify and fix errors in the 903 returns is useful in and of itself. But I think one of the things that we're keen to do through this project, and that we've been doing so far, is collaborating differently around building a tool, upskilling each other and building out the capabilities to build not just this tool, but potentially others that the wider data to insight community might want in future. And I think that means that your input is really crucial in getting this tool to where we want it to be by mid-November. So there are two main ways where people can get involved over this next 6 or 7 weeks. The first of these is around coding the rules. So as we've seen already, we've had around 18 people involved in this in some form, which is how we've been able to get to where we are currently. For those who have been involved in this in some form already, firstly, thank you. And secondly, it would be really great to see you getting re-involved and really embed what you've learned so far. And I think for those who haven't been involved yet, it's definitely not too late to take this opportunity to learn a bit of Python. So I'll give a bit more information about how exactly you can get involved in that in a little bit. The second way to get involved is around the testing of the tool itself. So we'll need a number of you to test our pre-launch version of the tool, both to give us feedback around the experience of using the front end, make sure there are no bugs, and also check that there are no errors in the way that these rules are understanding your data. I'd also say that these aren't exclusive. So if you find that you've got too much time on your hands at the moment and you want to be involved in both, more than welcome as well. As I've mentioned already, we're just over halfway through. We've coded about 91 rules, and this leaves us with about 162 rules, sorry, to go over the remaining time we have left, which is roughly 25 to 30 rules a week. On the face of it, and looking at the rules that we've been coding so far, this may seem like a lot. But I think for those who have been involved so far, they'll tell you that you can easily get through 5 rules in less than 2 hours. And we've seen some people doing 8 or more rules in a week. I think what we've done so far has been done whilst people were learning. And even then, we've been making a really good pace getting through coding some of these new rules. In fact, actually, our most productive week was the first week when we had lots of people that were just starting, getting involved, excited about coding. And we actually coded 30 rules in that very first week. So to get to where we need to be for end of November, it's not really about getting 1 or 2 people to code a mammoth amount of rules, but about getting a larger group to code a small amount of rules consistently, so that we get so that we can make progress through what we have left. So we've set up a couple of tracks for people to get involved to do that. The first one is what we're calling the core cohort here, and I think for this cohort, this is for people who've been kind of going through the training a little bit, and what we'll be aiming for is around 5 rules per week, which should take about 2 hours. And that includes having the time that you'd have for a half an hour catch up with us just to check in and see how everything's going. For this cohort, by the time that the tool launches, you'll come out well equipped to code in Python and basically be able to apply this to other projects that you're working on. You'll be in a good place to continue your Python journey from there. During this time, you'll have access to on-demand coaching from Desi, who I think a lot of you will have met, if there are any specific questions that come up. And I think it's a good opportunity to really make sure or to really dip your feet into doing this Python coding and get some good experience that will set you up for being able to use this in future. We're hoping for about 5 volunteers, I think, to join this cohort, but obviously more than that is very welcome. We also know that some of you can't make the commitment to 2 hours a week at this time. I know it's a bit of a hectic time at the moment, but we don't want to deter people from getting involved because of that. The second group is the at your own pace cohort, and I think with this group, we're going to try to code around 2 rules a fortnight, and you'll still have access to drop-ins, feedback on your rules, ways that you can improve. I think in this group, we still encourage people to get involved. What will essentially happen for this group, I think you'll still have seen some Python. You'll have a good sense of whether it's something you might want to learn in more detail. But I think compared with the core cohort, you will probably need to do some more training, some more practice, or wait for a future opportunity to learn before you're able to put this into practice on real life projects.
I think I just wanted to drop in there and kind of say, Chris, looking at the people who are doing it so far, then you kind of find what you'd expect to find, that what you put in is what you get out of the learning. And if you like, the design of this project was about, can we find a way for local authorities to dip their toes in the water of learning Python without making a big commitment to a training course or an apprenticeship or something else. And we're really excited that we've got someone else to pay for the expertise that's going to help that happen for people who want it to happen. If you want to dip your toes in the water of Python, then there's going to be few better opportunities, I think, than, hey, have someone like Desi and the video content that Social Finance have created for this course, and just have a look at this against a data set and some data validation that you already know inside out. So you already know the data perfectly and kind of how to work with it. And you'll get a sense for, okay, this is some of the stuff that I could do in this kind of arena. And then when people start saying, hey, you should use Python to do X, Y, or Z, you'll have a bit of an idea what they're talking about, rather than it being some magical word that people can throw at you. But unless you, as with any learning, if you practice half an hour a week, it takes you a long time to get good at something. If you put in a bit more time, you start to pick it up quicker. And so while this opportunity exists, I'm really trying to push people to say, well, jump in and start learning. If you think this is something that's useful, then go for it. And if you think that actually, oh, I could spare an hour this week to start looking at it, but then you think, yes, this has got promise, then I'd really go for it. And it demonstrates as well that people are doing it is more important to us than that people then come away from it with a plan to use Python anywhere else locally. It's more about this kind of say, well, we said we would make this available to people so they can understand whether or not it's a good fit for their organization in a very low cost way. And even if you decide it's not a good fit for your organization, you've produced something useful to your organization that we're going to maintain as Data to Insight. That was unformed thoughts, sorry, but thank you.
No, I think that's totally right, Alistair. I think yeah, the best way to get familiar with this stuff is to practice it with something that you're familiar with, and I think this is a really good opportunity to do that. The other way to get involved is around the testing of the tool itself. So basically, this testing, we want to make sure that all of the rules are working as intended. We want to make sure that the front end is intuitive and you can figure out how to use it like you would expect, and also that there are no little bugs which you're only really going to discover when you get lots of different people trying it out and trying to break the tool in every which way. So for that, we're going to be creating 2 user testing groups, a rule testing group and a front-end testing group. For the rule testing group, we're hoping to have some more involved testers that will be happy to load their data into the tool a couple of times over the course of the next 7 weeks and give us feedback at how well it works for identifying errors within their data. What that will involve is roughly 3 half-hour meetings from this group, plus email feedback, and we're hoping for 3 or 4 people to be involved in this this rule testing group. As well as that, I guess the more light touch way of engaging here is for the front end testers, and for these front end testers, all we'll be looking for is just a 1-hour Zoom call with us. It may actually end up being shorter than that, to walk through their experience of using the tool live. So essentially, we'll get on a Zoom call, you'll load your data into the tool as you think you might, give us feedback of how you're finding it as you're going through, and then at the end give us suggestions of how we might improve it, and that'll be all, and we'll use that feedback to inform how we redesign the front end over a couple of iterations. And we're looking for roughly 6 people to be involved in this, and this obviously is going to be really important in actually making sure that the tool works and is usable. So I want to open it up now. I think it would be great if anyone's seeing this and is keen to volunteer. It would be great to get some volunteers on this call, if we can, for joining the different groups, and also if there are any questions about anything that we've talked about the tool, about how you can get involved, timelines, anything like that. I'm very happy to answer any of those too.